Starting a family can be so rewarding, but it's not always easy. That's something Sarah and Andy Justice learned the hard way. They wanted kids, but life threw a wrench in their plans. But they weren't ready to give up, and their persistence paid off in an unimaginable way. Hello, wonderful people. I'm Scott Leffler for WonderBot. And here is, after she adopted triplets, this mother was faced with a harrowing surprise. Before we begin, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to our channel, and click the notification bell for more amazing videos. Sarah and Andy Justice were living a pretty happy life in Tulsa, Oklahoma. There was just one huge problem. They had no children. And it wasn't from a lack of trying, they simply couldn't conceive. But they hadn't given up yet. By this point, the couple had been married for 3.5 years. They were starting to get anxious about the possibility of ever being able to have any children. So their doctor offered them one possible solution. But they had to go all the way to St. Louis, Missouri to see a specialist. In vitro fertilization would give them a 10% chance of conceiving a baby. That was a very slim percentage for a procedure that can cost anywhere between $30,000 and $60,000. Worst of all, they couldn't help but worry about the potential side effects. The psychological stress of the procedure can cause havoc in women. In fact, research suggests that the types of anxiety they experience is similar to patients who are facing a terminal illness. But men can suffer just as much as women do. Men also experience anxiety, depression, decreased self-esteem, and even physical pain from infertility stress. It doesn't even matter if they're the fertile ones or if it's their partner who's infertile. It's a tough situation all around. But the Justices also face pressure from the outside world as well. Couples are often judged for not having children. And then there's family, friends, and even total strangers who pressure them with questions about why they haven't started a family yet. The Justices were desperate to become parents, but they had no idea what life had in store for them. Justice felt that her biological clock was ticking. Anyone who's over 30 will attest to that fear, so if anyone understood, it was her. The couple felt like they were running out of options, so they started considering moving forward with adoption. They felt like they had only one option left, or so they thought. The Justices decided to do what many childless couples do when they can't conceive naturally. They thought about adopting. They felt they could provide a stable and loving home for an orphan child, but they later realized that the process was simply exhausting. The couple discovered they had to jump through several hurdles with the adoption agency in order to take home a baby. But they worked with a faith-based crisis pregnancy group who helped them find a potential birth mother who wanted to give away her child. The first birth mother chose the couple, but then she backed out. So the Justices contacted the adoption agency and tried again. And then a new birth mother chose them, but she also changed her mind. While it might have been a low blow for the couple, it didn't stop the Justices from trying. A third birth mother chose the Justices to be her unborn child's adoptive parents. But there was an unexpected surprise that no one could have foreseen until they were all sitting at the doctor's office. The couple wanted a big family. This was their greatest wish in the whole world. And luckily for them, they got their wish. But then they realized they should have been more careful with what they wished for. During the ultrasound, they found there was not one, not two, but 3 babies in the birth mother's womb. Then the husband turned to his wife and said, "Well, that's great. You said you wanted kids." According to News on 6. But would they be the ones to back out this time? After all, becoming parents to 3 babies is a lot for most people. The Justices intended to have 1 baby and ended up with triplets. This motivated them to expedite the adoption process and prepare for their new babies. But there was still one more surprise in store for them. In May 2013, the birth mother gave birth to the triplets 8 weeks earlier than expected. But the Justices were elated. They named the babies Hannah, Joel, and Elizabeth. But there was a complication in taking them home. The triplets had to stay in the hospital until they were strong and healthy enough to leave. But something was wrong with Sarah Justice, their adoptive mother. She felt sick a week after the triplets were born. She thought the stress of finally becoming a parent had taken its toll on her, but she was wrong. The Justices had their hands full baby-proofing the house and getting it ready for their bundles of joy. And although 3 babies were unexpected, they were very much welcomed. The couple also longed to have one more kid, but they didn't need an adoption agency to get it. Sarah Justice went to the doctor and learned the exciting but surprising news that she was experiencing morning sickness because she was pregnant. They were finally going to have not 3, but 4 children living under their roof. But once again, they'd miscalculated. The Justices found out they were having twins. I was shocked and a bit overwhelmed because I got to thinking, added it up, and I'm like, "Wow, if they go to term, we're about to have 5 babies in 8 months," she told the Today anchors. Now they needed some new wheels to fit their growing family. The couple had 5 extra mouths to feed, and they also had a lot of adjusting to do. For starters, they needed a bigger van to accommodate the triplets and their newborn twins, whom they named Abigail and Andrew. But they needed more than just space. The couple went through about 84 bottles of diapers a week. They also had to spend money on other things like baby powder, clothes, and milk. But figuring out who was who became a real challenge on its own. The Justice family told the triples apart, all of whom were girls, by painting their toenails a different color. But in the winter they had to use bows to differentiate them. Fortunately, they weren't alone. The couple's lives had changed completely now that it had revolved solely around their kids. Fortunately, they had plenty of help from their family and also their church. Thankfully for this massive family, Dad's job made things easier too. Since Dad was self-employed, he was able to adjust his schedule to help his wife out more. But even with all the help they received, catching up on sleep was practically impossible. And it only got worse when they expanded their family one more time. Finally, the Justices had their very own happily ever after. The couple who once feared they'd never become parents ended up having 6 kids. In January 2016, Mom got pregnant again and had little Caleb, and now they're one big, happy family.